Today I want to talk about the reasons why you will not like living in Poland. Starting with number one, I think this is probably the worst thing. Polish people are not the nicest. There's a common stereotype that they're like coconuts, where they have a hard exterior and a soft exterior. Once you get to know them, then they're super friendly. And I would say from my experience, that has been quite true. I'm used to like a certain level of friendliness because in the US in general, we have like manners that everybody treats each other with. So we're all quite friendly, even though we can be fake and superficial in some ways. And then going to Colombia or some of the Western European countries, especially the Latin countries, Spain, Italy, people are super, super friendly. And you come here and the difference is quite large. You want to make a guest appearance in the video? Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
So where are you from?
I'm Egyptian, but also Polish, but also I lived in Canada. I think my biggest con is coming from a place that's really friendly like Canada.
Yes.
People
Same.
are so not nice here.
They're not even not friendly. They're like low-key rude. You're just asking instructions or anything, and then they'll just look at you like curse their mom or something, right?
Especially with Slavic and Eastern European countries in general. They're just so used to not talking to each other. They're all going through a hardship, so no one really communicates to each other. You see each other through your struggle. It's just not the culture they built. Another big thing is smiling at people. I, in Canada, am one of the people who had the most negative faces. The contrast of being called, so moody and like not pleasant to be around there, and here I'm like a ball of sunshine is what everyone calls me.
But Krakow specifically, compared to other places in Poland, people here are, I would say, friendlier because it's more like of an international city. It's more of a college town, so there's a lot of young people here. Once you realize that everybody's like minding their own business, nobody will bother you. It's very similar to how it is in Eastern Asian countries. It's the same in Korea, Japan, China, but it's like a super, super safe society. So if you guys are thinking about living in another country, whether it's here in Poland or Southeast Asia or Latin America, there's so many things to look for when you're making that decision. People, dating, culture, language, race, right? There are so many layers to it. It can be very confusing if you don't have any experience. So if you guys need help making that decision, feel free to hit me up here for a consultation. Another thing that you will not like about living here is that things don't always work here, especially if you're from America. There's a standard of everything working how it's supposed to be. The customer is always right, that kind of attitude. You don't really have that here. Sometimes you go to a place, the roads may be broken down or the bus might not arrive on time. Just kind of small things like that. It's not as bad as when I was like in Colombia. When they would do construction on something, it would take years because people would always just steal the money and nothing would ever get done. I don't think the same level of corruption quite exists here in Poland.
This is my personal issue. I don't like the way people act when they're going out at night. For example, in Canada, you'll never see that people are getting so drunk that they're vomiting on the streets. But here, it's a very big thing.
Like Polish people or foreigners?
I guess it's both because I've seen it both happen on multiple occasions. I hate it. I really do hate it. You'll never see this vomit in the streets if you're visiting during the day because someone cleans it up during the night. It's just the fact that someone has to clean it up every night to me, which is a bit crazy. I don't know if you realized it.
No, I've never been out late enough to really see that, to be honest, because I'm always back by like 1 or 2. I think just Eastern Europe in general, Central Europe, they have a huge problem with alcohol. I think Western Europe, unless they're British, I think they can handle their alcohol better. One of the worst things about Poland, and everybody will talk to you about this, is the weather. Poland is amazing half of the year, and then the other half of the year is completely miserable. This is the first time in my life that I ever experienced seasonal depression. I like living in cold weather. When I was in Colombia, I lived in a city called Manizales, which was in the mountains, and it was consistently like 15 to 22 degrees every single day. Coming here, especially because the sun sets during the winter at like 3:30 p.m., oh my God, it was brutal. I would wake up, I would get 4 hours of like daylight. I just felt like super, super tired and miserable and kind of sad all the time. And as soon as the sun started coming up again, I realized like a huge change in my mood. So if you've never experienced this any time in your life before, the seasonal depression and the winter here is gonna be very, very rough. If you're not like super focused on work and you just want a couple of months to kind of hibernate, or if you're in a relationship and you want like that cuddle weather, I think it could be quite cool. For me, this was the first time being in a Slavic country, all by myself, new country, I had to adjust to everything, make new friends. The first couple months here for me were quite rough. The next year, experiencing winter here is not gonna be as bad because I'll kind of know what to expect. I came from Southeast Asia, which is like sun all of the time, to here. So it was like such a drastic change. And if you're not used to something like that, definitely be prepared for that. Another con about Poland is that I hear that there are some bureaucracy issues here. For example, if you're trying to get your visa or your residency card, I've heard a lot of my friends complain about the length of time it takes to get those things. Something that should take just a couple couple of months can end up taking a couple of years because of the paperwork and the process and everything. A very common stereotype about Polish people, and I have seen this firsthand as well. Polish people also complain about everything. We have a group chat in our building, and most of the people that complain there are either Polish or Turkish or Azerbaijan or something like that. But it is a common stereotype, even to the point where I have Polish friends who will say that when they go to different countries and they hear Polish, they will not even want to associate with other Polish people because they know how the personality is. And especially during the winter months, you're gonna find that like Polish people just seem very grumpy all the time. So going back to them being rude, even if you want to just say hello, sometimes they won't even look at you or respond to you, or they'll respond very rudely. It's very different, for example, than Ukraine, where when I was there, everybody was super friendly. And even all the Ukrainians here are quite nice and friendly comparatively to the Polish people. I think it's something you can get used to after a while. From all my travels and experiencing people from all over the world, it's been quite drastic here. Because even in like places like China or Korea, maybe the people are cold, but they're not going to be super rude. Here, the people for some reason are just like a little ruder than normal. And then the last con is the language. Thankfully, here in Krakow, there's a lot of younger people, and most people here do speak English, but a lot of places in Poland, they still don't speak English. I debate about this every day. Like if I want to take the time to learn Polish, I may take it for 30 days just to make a video about it. It sounds like one of the hardest languages ever. I don't really have any motivation to learn that language the same way that I learned Spanish, for example, because I learned Spanish for me. It's so close to English that I was able to get conversationally fluent in like 6 months. Slavic languages are so different than English or the Latin languages. I feel like it'd be very difficult for me. And if I don't plan on staying in Poland for like extended period of time, all that effort that I'm gonna put into learning the language is just gonna go to waste. So I would only really learn Polish if I end up with a Polish partner in the long term. Even at that point, she's probably gonna speak English, so I'm probably not gonna focus that much effort into learning the language. I've been here for 4 months already, and I have to say that it's been a very pleasant experience. These are the only cons that I have so far about living here in Poland. I don't know if I'm gonna stay in Poland for the long term. Everything's really up in the air. My plan now is to go to Spain, but anything can really happen in the next few years, so we're just gonna have to see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.